McWilliams,
Here.
Miss Hughes,
Here.
Mr. Graves,
Here.
Mrs. Cobb.
Next on the agenda, we have approval of the agenda. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Dr. Campbell, seconded by Mr. Payne. Please call the roll.
Mr. Payne,
Yes.
Mr. McWilliams,
Yes.
Miss Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Atkins,
Yes.
Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Graves.
Yes. Next on the agenda is item 1.4, moment of silence and pledge of allegiance, done by Mr. Payne.
This time we have a moment of silence. And we have a pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is item 2.1, approval of the minutes. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Dr. Campbell, seconded by Mr. Payne. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Miss Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. McWilliams,
Yes.
Mr. Payne,
Yes.
Mr. Atkins,
Yes.
Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Graves.
Yes. Next on the agenda is item 3.1, capital improvement plan. This is a public hearing. I now open the floor for public hearing. No one? Public hearing is closed. Next on the agenda is item 4.1, public may address the board. Have anyone signed up for tonight?
No.
Next on the agenda is item 5.1, the VDOE safety grant, to be done by Mr. Cheney.
Good evening, how are y'all this evening?
Good. Good.
So each year, some of y'all know this, each year we apply for the security grant through BDOE. It started in 2014. Usually it's a $100,000 cap. That's usually what we got from 2015, 16, 17, and 18. Last year we got $16,000, but we applied for $100,000. This year they opened the grant to $250,000 cap, and I applied for all $250,000, and we got $232,000. Of course, it's got a $58,000 in-kind match based on your composite index for the city. They'll only use the funds to put the entry card, control access entry points, swipe cards at 14 schools at the main entry points. And we would make that your ID, so you can get in each school, and we would control that here at central office. And also put a new camera system in at Langston. Langston's the only school we have left that has the old ancient security system. And that would also put a camera system in for them with those funds. And I'm working on the RFP. We hope to have it out by January the 7th. Get it back toward the end of January and have everything completed by mid-April, so have everything installed. Any questions on that?
Any questions for Mr. Cheney? Thank you. Next on the agenda is item 5.2, COVID-19 training updates. That'll also be done by Mr. Cheney.
Yes, I just want to give you an update on the COVID training we did this week. We met Tuesday in here. We put together a COVID training to go out district-wide. Tuesday afternoon, we brought the principals and nurses in, and we trained them so they could go back to the schools and train their schools on the training, the COVID training. Dr. Harrison wanted us to get the COVID back in everybody's mind. Since March, kind of start drifting away. It's here, but she wanted us to remind everybody what we should be doing as far as COVID is concerned. So we met in here, and Dr. Harrison led it off by doing an intro. Renita Towns, the nurse, did a COVID overview, and I know some of y'all probably got the link, but you probably haven't had a chance to watch it yet. She does an overview of COVID, washing your hands, the symptoms of COVID, just reminding everybody about COVID. I came in behind her and did a whole exposure and contact tracing segment on how that happens. And that's, the 60, 15 minutes and what we look for when we do contact tracing. And Corey Sowers from IT developed a virtual screening at the request of Dr. Harrison. So starting on January the 4th, when we come back to work, all DPS employees will do a screening every day. Now, if you have an iPhone or an Android, you can do it with your phone. So you can answer the questions before you go in the building. And the last thing is your temperature. When you walk in the building, get your temperature, you put the temperature in, hit submit, gives you a thumbs up, you're good to enter the building. That is fed to a spreadsheet, and we have the spreadsheet here at central office where Ms. Towns and I will look at that spreadsheet every day to make sure everybody's doing what they should, or if they answer the questions wrong, we can call them and say, hey, why'd you answer this question this way? Because you shouldn't be in the building. So that's gonna be a good thing for us too. Hopefully we can slow down some of the impact we're having here at DPS. Any questions about the COVID training? I encourage you to watch the link, go to the link, watch the video. It was well done, and we launched it district-wide. We still have some that's got to get it, that not at work that day or so, but it was a good thing, I thought. I thought it was well done. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Cheney. And I apologize for my tardiness. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Cheney? Okay. Next, we have item 6.1. We will hear from Ms. Charlene Bowman about the results of the face-to-face virtual survey to DPS parents.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
You're aware, as we did our first semester, we did the student choice surveys where for parents to decide whether they would like their children to be virtual or face-to-face. So we've done the same thing for the second semester. The survey information, of course, is used for planning purposes for our teachers and principals as students return back, as well as for transportation. Our transportation needs that information in order to create the bus routes to bring our students back face-to-face. The survey was posted on November the 20th. It was scheduled to close on the 4th. However, we allowed it to remain open until December the 11th. Parents elected again to choose face-to-face for instruction for the second semester, which begins January 19, 2021. Parents had to complete a form for each child. For those students who do not have a form completed for them, they will receive 100% virtual instruction for the second semester. There are multiple methods used to contact the parents in order to assist them with getting the form completed and for us to have that information. Principals did robocalls, office staffs helped the parents calling in to complete the forms if they were unable to complete it electronically. Hard copies were provided for parents. Teachers called parents, they informed them through Canvas, and as many ways as possible, parents were contacted in order to assist them in completing the form. So you look at the data, these are the responses and the enrollment. And last month at the meeting, you remember that Ms. Hughes credited Dr. Newton with her data analysis skills. Well, I take no credit for this. This is, again, Dr. Newton's analysis and putting together this responses for the survey. So you'll see the responses and the enrollment by each school. And she's broken that down even further. Next slide, please. So this is by grade level. You can look at the responses by the grade level. And you'll see face-to-face and 100% virtual. So when you look at, this is an overall. So we had 1,178 responses. That's 30% of the responses, 33% of the responses. 2,576 was 48% of the responses, and the 1,132 is 19, which makes a total of 67%. So right now, 67% of our students are scheduled for virtual instruction for the second semester. There continue to be some parents who are completing the form, so these numbers may be maybe a couple that are still out. So any questions about the survey?
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. Any questions for Ms. Bowman? Mr. Atkins?
On page 5, if you compare page 5 to the next two pages, it appears GW says there was 0 responses on page 5, but then we have lots of data for 9th through 12th grade. So is that affecting our overall number of 34 or on nearly 3,500?
That is just, that's an error.
Okay.
That is an
So
error.
is the 3,500 correct, or do we need to add the GW? Is it some of the GW missing from that?
They would be missing some, but that is an error.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions for Ms. Bowman? Okay. And-
I had one, just one real quick. So we're saying that those parents who still have them out, even though they're late, they have a chance to get the schedules changed to face-to-face? as
No,
opposed
they're
to-
not changing schedule, they will be 100%. There were some that the parents had called in.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, to update that particular information. So
Okay.
any ones that were not updated on the form, the schools actually did those manually.
Okay,
Yes.
so all of those
those numbers may
people,
not be reflected on those slides.
so all those people now are officially going to be virtual?
100% virtual, yes.
Okay.
So we'll update an updated slide
Sorry.
tomorrow. We'll update the slides tomorrow with
Yes.
GW. We'll update the public.
Because we have to get from the schools, the ones that they inserted manually.
Right.
Any other questions about the face-to-face virtual parent survey? 6.2, music and ROTC updates. We'll hear from Ms. Bowman
Okay,
again.
yes. Board had asked for some updates on our music and our ROTC program. Of course, right now, all of our teachers are saying for these particular programs, it's a struggle. It is a struggle because these programs are face-to-face, hands-on type programs. So when they're not face-to-face, they have been providing classes through Canvas as well as Google Meet. They're trying to keep the classes as normal as possible. And the students, all of the teachers reported that they're really proud of the students because the students are as active as they possibly can be at this time, and they're doing everything that they can to make it work. So when we look at our band, students right now are using web-based programs, and they also take part in the music consortium for playing assignments, sight reading, and listening. They have also participated in the virtual all-district band, and that will be held in January, so they are practicing for that. They play outside in small groups when they came back in face-to-face, and this is at a high school as well as the middle school. And the teacher report that the students are doing a great job of becoming independent players. For marching band, of course, which is a big hit right now, because that is totally, they need to be in place for that. They will begin with small groups in February. The restrictions, of course, has been a challenge for marching band, and currently, for the timeline that they will have, a lot of time will be spent with checking in, getting instruments, and cleaning. So it's also going to cut down on the practice time that they will have for practicing when they do start. Currently, they do not have an audition drum line, nor a drum major or section leaders, and that's simply because they would have to be present in order to make that happen. They're not quite sure whether they will be playing at football games because of the number of CDC guidelines for restrictions for spectators. However, the focus right now is more focused on the 2021-2022 school year. For orchestra, some of the same things are happening. Of course, they're strengthened, they're doing individual solos. The teacher does a lot of playing, and with the students on screen, they are muted, and then she does individual classes with them. They also have websites and external tools that are used after they finish class that they can practice independently. We also, and this will be for band as well, instruments are brought to school when they are needed to be tuned or serviced. So they're brought to the teachers, and they take care of the instruments for them. Chorus, they also use a choice board for the assignments, so they have different choices for assignments that the students may use when they can, when they're not in class, and they work on those independently. They include, you see lyrics, historical context, as well as composers, so they're doing a lot of research as well. Students are required to sing certain pieces, and they submit that assignment and receive feedback from the teachers with that, and they're also using web-based programs for us. Then in our ROTC program, which is our Reserve Officers Training Corps, of course, that's based on military knowledge and branches of the military. They did have an opportunity, the Cyber Patriots team did have an opportunity to compete virtually in November, and they placed number 11th out of 23 teams, so we're proud of them for that. The junior ROTC Leadership Academic Bowl, they completed in November, still waiting for feedback from that. And they also in the process of conducting their yearly community service project, which is the Eagles Bless. And right now they've raised over $1,500 worth of clothing and food items to donate. Any questions?
Let me chime in too, if you don't mind. It's really neat. I was at GW, and the orchestra teacher was, she actually was playing, you know, the practicing with the kids over Zoom, the Google Meets, right? And kids were engaged. They were really participating. At Westwood, they sent home art supplies with students the last time they did the pickup. They sent home the art supplies so children could participate. And kids were actually able to participate, so they plan to do that again in January. The children are coming back to give those supplies out. And the ROTC rifle team is only 3, but they're in there working out too. So a lot of things, as Ms. Bowman has indicated, they're continuing to work as we move forward. They really are engaged. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Bowman? Thank you, Ms. Bowman. Next, on 7.1, we will hear from Dr. Harrison. She'll give an update on the Danville Public Schools Corrective Action Plan.
Okay, Chair Combs and members of the board. As a part of the MOU with the Virginia Department of Education, I am required to provide a monthly update on our corrective action plan. This will be a little more comprehensive than most. Some will be a summary of update of activities, and each time I'll ask each division, or at least one division, to give us some work. Like tonight, we'll have Human Resources talk about the hiring process. So key components of the corrective action plan relative to our accreditation of board governance, which many of you are participating in part, curriculum and instruction. There's an accountability and monitoring component. There's leadership, building leadership capacity. There's a human resources component, wraparound services, a budget and finance component, and communication. Okay? So the governance component, we needed to add the 12th in, but February 12th is our board training with the Virginia School Boards Association. Also been working really hard on policy development, which many of you have worked on the policy committee, and you have, I think it's led by Dr. Campbell, and that's moving forward. Our school board committee meetings have met and will continue to meet. There are 2 others listed there. December 17th was the Superintendent's Evaluation Instrument Committee. That'll be presented tonight. Board Member Hughes led that committee meeting. And then our strategic planning process is well on its way, actually. And I'll give you an update on the timeline there. There's also technical support. Technical support occurs relative to our ongoing corrective action plan. So there are bi-weekly meetings with the state superintendent. So I've actually met personally with Dr. Lane. The Office of Accountability, there are bi-weekly meetings, 2 separate meetings. And then there are weekly check-ins with the liaison. And I did provide in your red folder an example of the agenda for our weekly meetings. So I put 2 in there. Victoria did one for the 11th, and then I have one tomorrow. And then there's continued district-wide support from the Virginia Department of Education. Policy review, we provided a summary of the policies that have been reviewed, the committee meetings that have occurred, those that have had the first read and the second read, and we're continuing to follow the calendar on these policies. You'll see coming up in January are the instructional policies. Excuse me. The leadership calendar, I did make a shift in that. We have a need to develop our leadership capacity throughout the district beyond the principal. And so principal meetings have been moved to full days, and that's centered around work before board meetings. Our assistant principals, we will meet with them on half days on the third Tuesday, and the purpose of that is to develop our assistant principals and build capacity so they can support the principal in the work. We have department leads, and we would know them as grade level chairs and science department chairs and those kinds of leaders in our school, because leadership is not just the principal, it's the entire school going in one direction. There are many levels of leaders in a school, and we must take time to develop and share information. Also, I've asked each school to have a leadership team, and that leadership team will consist of teachers, classified employees, and our administrators. And we will meet with those folks 2 hours per month, again, to share information and to increase capacity behind initiatives. We have cabinet meetings, just so you know, starting January 11th at 7:30 a.m. And the purpose of those cabinet meetings, moving to an earlier slide, is so we'll have more time to focus on the CAP. There will be weekly meetings behind the CAP, and the reason for that is a massive document, lots of action steps, and we can lose track of those action steps. February 3rd, I just wanted you to know that the Virginia Department of Education will be here working with our schools on a comprehensive needs assessment. Saturday, March 13th, we'll have a workshop for our administrators, effective school improvement planning, and we have a summer retreat to further advance the leadership in our district. District-wide improvement process, the strategic plan, the Virginia School Boards Association has agreed to lead our strategic planning initiative, and I'll go over the calendar for that in a moment. And so as we build our strategic plan, our divisions must be accountable. Our instruction department, human resources, finance, maintenance, technology, all have to engage in this work, so they will have plans with measurable goals. The neat thing about the strategic plan with the VSBA is we'll come out with a scorecard, like a report card at the end that we must follow, and it will be public facing on our website. And our school improvement plans, which are plans that principals must engage in order to improve their schools, will be developed alongside. And there'll be a shift, and I'll talk about it later, in Title I. Title I plan will be closely aligned with school improvement, and as much money as possible will be sent to the schools for them to improve. We're going to try to stop holding a lot of the dollars here at the school district level. It'll be sent out to the schoolhouse for teachers and administrators. So that's an overview of the planning process. So the first thing that we have to work on, of course, is curriculum and instruction. And this is just a model to give you about something, just to let you know all that goes into a packaged curriculum. We have a teacher shortage, absolutely a teacher shortage. We have a lot of young teachers in our district. So we must help them with the curriculum, like what is it I'm supposed to teach? And how am I what is it supposed to look like? And so the DOE, we plan to fill our CAO position and get some positions filled. The Department of Ed has agreed to come the first week in February 7th, to launch that work. And we must have professional learning around the standards. So the standards should not be something secret. It shouldn't be hard to find. It should be public facing for our parents. It should be public facing for our teachers. We have a lot of younger teachers and teachers who are coming into the profession for the first time. You have to give them more guidance. And then as you become more seasoned, you can have a lot more flexibility. But this is sort of a framework, and we'll have our own framework. This is just an example of what one could look like. But we'll have one that kind of captures all this information. And this is curriculum design. It has to be balanced, rigorous, vertically aligned. Kindergarten, first grade, second grade through 12th grade all need to be aligned so kids are moving in the same direction. It has to be culturally relevant and focused, so we all understand the key principles on curriculum. So what's the implementation? We'll have a teacher survey go out, and the purpose of this survey is to figure out what's happening in the classroom. How much access to resources do they have? How many what is their participation level in planning. We need to find out what boots on the ground, what's happening with our teachers. Our teachers are frontline. They are right there with the kids, and in order to improve, we must find out from the teachers what their thoughts are. And then we'll move into teacher planning teams around those results. February through March, as I mentioned, will be led by the Virginia Department of Education, a curriculum and training design framework, meaning we lay out what curriculum and instruction and assessment looks like for our district and our children. From April through June, we'll do some unit development, and in the summer, our plan is to bring in every single teacher for training. It won't be train the trainer, it'll be an expectation that every single teacher come in for training. And next is human resources. Human resources will participate, as will instruction, in a weekly CAP meeting. We'll focus on recruitment, mentoring, and support, and there'll be a laser-like focus on filling vacancies. We've also talked about the COVID relief plan, changed our COVID employee relief plan, meaning that when they request accommodations, there's a different approach to receiving those accommodations. We also will focus on employee evaluation. That's a very important tool for helping to give feedback to teachers. And also, we will look at the employee handbook. We've got an outline right now from another district that we're going to use to develop an employee handbook for our district. Budget and finance, we've engaged in consultancy. We also have consultants coming in for human resources after the holiday to give us some feedback. Budget and finance, we have a consultant working with budget and finance. Done a great job before with the capital improvement plan. I think most of you are a part of aware of the SIP. Position control, we have an organizational chart that was presented to you by Dr. McWhirter, and we worked for the last few days on understanding the school allocation process. If you don't follow the state school allocation process, you end up over budgeting, overstaffing. And so at the end of this, we will have a district-wide allocation process that anybody can pick up and see how schools are staffed. Federal program monitoring started by Ms. Barksdale. She started that process 2 weeks ago, better monitoring those expenditures. And then Ms. Barksdale and I both participated, and I hope I sent you the link. If I didn't, I'll send it to you with the basics of how schools are funded. I think it's important for everyone to understand how schools are funded in Virginia. Communication, a part of the CAP requires that we have an external communication plan and an internal communication plan. So we'll be looking at developing a plan that truly sends the message to parents and media, and also to the internal folks, things that are important to educating our children. That concludes an overview of the components and how we're going to approach the CAP. Any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Harrison. I know it's very high level, there's a lot in the CAP. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Harrison?
Just one.
Dr. Kim?
Can you go back over to Title I?
Yes. So Title I should be given, there's a set aside that's held at the district for administrative and compliance. You can hold Title I dollars and support district-wide initiatives. So let's say that coaching is an initiative, so you're able to hire coaches from the district level, but they have to be guided and directed by the district level. This approach means that the Department of Education, they will come in and help principals conduct a comprehensive needs assessment. The dollars should go to the schools based on those needs. So not every school may need a coach. Not every school may need a reading specialist. The dollars should be spent according to the needs of the school to close the gaps. So some schools may say, well, I need more help in the mathematics area. So moving those dollars out of central office to the schools gives the school leadership team, or just be the principal, that's why it's important to have the school leadership team, the autonomy to look at the comprehensive needs assessment and apply those dollars to need. They may need tutors, they may need Saturday programs, they may not need a district-wide initiative. And so we are intent on identifying the what is to be taught and giving them a framework and giving those dollars as much as possible. And certainly Ms. Green had a big smile on her face. So her work is compliance, ensuring we have the parent engagement plan, the Title I plan, and ensuring people adhere to the federal guidelines. The school's job is to spend the dollars on children based on their need. Okay. All
Any
right.
other questions for Dr. Harrison?
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Harrison. Next, we will hear from Dr. Jennings. Dr. Jennings will give an overview of the hiring process.
And I'd like to open with this. This was one of the requirements of the CAP, was to identify the hiring process, and this has been approved by Dr. Griffin. So I wanted, and each month we'll bring a different department forward and have them present on the changes or adjustments that have been approved by the DOE as a part of the CAP.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
To take a look at the DPS hiring process, I'll begin by saying that we have always had a hiring process. Now we have it in writing, and it's one that we are going to deploy across the division, whether it's in hiring a teacher, a custodian, a bus driver, or whomever. So this leads us to the various steps. We begin with an ad that's put out by the Human Resources Department when someone leaves or when a new position is created. The vacancy announcement might have a specific deadline, or it might have what we call an open deadline. And you may have seen some of these if you've looked at our positions on Monocular or what have you. We word the open deadline to make sure candidates understand that while we are receiving applications and reviewing them as they come in, persons interviewed still have to meet the qualifications of that position. So we're trying to be upfront and honest with everyone, saying that just because you apply, it doesn't mean you automatically get an interview. We do look at the qualifications. Also, based on the organizational climate and the job itself, we put together the candidate profile. And just to explain that, let's take a school, for instance. You would look at the organization being DPS and the job being third grade teacher. You pull those two together and you have in mind, before you look at any application, who's the ideal person? Who would be the ideal teacher to come in and teach my third grade students? So that's what you have in mind. So then you look at, what do I want in that person with regard to professional knowledge, ability, skills, traits, etc. In putting all that together, you then look at the posting, and again, if there is a specific deadline, we review applications the very next business day. If it's an open deadline, we can look at applications as they come in. Then we follow up with taking a look at the applicants who meet the qualifications. And to explain a little bit about that, with regard to teachers and administrators who are principals, etc. To be qualified, you have to have a Virginia teaching license. As an administrator, my license is still a Virginia teaching license, so you must have that to be qualified. Then we look at who's the best match for this particular position. So just taking a look at the fact that my background may be in middle school education, and if you ask me to then go teach kindergarten, you might as well just have me lie down in the middle of the street and somebody run over me. So you look at who's the best match for the specific position. We've now put in writing, and we made a process such that the principal is taken as a teaching position, selects the applicants to interview based on the credentials that have been submitted online. The interviews are scheduled. The principal may designate this to, delegate this rather to an assistant principal, but they're within the closing is to be done within 2 business days, and then conduct it within 5 to 7 business days to move the process along. Always, we allow for extenuating circumstances, but those circumstances must be extenuating. The principal then selects an objective interview panel. That panel needs to be composed of persons who can maintain confidentiality and who will protect the integrity of the process, meaning they will follow the rules, they will keep things legal, and move forward in that regard. Excuse me. So we're going to take this to the principal level, and again, as I said, this will be for any supervisor. We just followed this process, for example, to hire to bring to you a director of maintenance and operations. So this will be applicable to every position. So taking it specifically from the principal's perspective, the principal would choose the setting, like where would the interviews take place. That matters, because you would not want a lot of traffic or whatnot. We do a lot of Zoom interviews now. We do a lot with that because of the circumstances. The principal then would identify who's going to facilitate the panel, whether he or she will do it or delegate that to an assistant principal. Then the questions are developed to best fit the particular position. The questions I would ask of a music teacher would be different than those questions I would ask of a preschool teacher. That's what that part's about. The interview questions are submitted to the HR administrator, whether that's Mrs. Whittle, Mrs. Lipscomb, or me, to look at, to make sure, to review, to make sure they are legal. A lot of people say, oh, I've been interviewing for 20 years. The problem is, it doesn't mean you've been interviewing correctly if you're asking illegal questions. So we would do that and then get it back out to the principal so that the interviews can proceed in a timely fashion. All panel members, when they come for that day, sign a confidentiality form. They also review the candidate materials to include resume once been submitted. If not, they look at the application. The facilitator of the interview would then welcome panel members, explain how the day is going to go, and actually introduce the candidate when he or she arrives, and then explains the process to the candidate. It's only fair that the candidate coming in understands we have 45 minutes for this interview, we will need to pace ourselves, et cetera, and so forth. So the facilitator explains that. We have established that the facilitator will actually ask the questions. Sometimes you may go to an interview and this panel, they'll do the round robin. We have a facilitator ask the questions to move it along, and also to make sure we stick to our script, because we use the structured interview, which has our questions legally bounded. And this is called the candidate information exchange. The 45 minutes for an interview. I cannot give Dr. Campbell 50 minutes and everyone else 45. So if at the end of the time frame, time allows, the facilitator would ask the panel members if they have follow-up questions. The follow-up questions are held to the end because we don't want our questions to prolong someone's interview and then they may miss out on getting the full time. Similarly, the facilitator would then, if time allows, ask the candidate, do you have any questions of us? And we'll type it through. At the end, the facilitator gives an overview of the organization and the position. We don't do this at the beginning because if we tell you at the beginning, you're going to tell me what I told you in your answers to your questions. So we want to hear from you. What do you think? What do you know? And so forth. And then the facilitator closes the interview with the candidate by saying thank you and letting them know what the next steps will be. After that, the interview follow-up is such that the panel members, before they leave the room, will complete a deliberation form on each candidate, and that is a rating based on my perception of the person. And the good part about having a panel is everyone is coming at the situation from a different perspective. That's why we have a variety of people. So what I might hear may be different than what Mr. Graves might have heard, but it's good to get that together and hear, what everybody's had to say. The panel members deliberate to determine a finalist or finalists. If no finalist emerges, we begin the process again. We go back to the pool, so to speak. The principal or designee of the position checks the references within 3 business days from the interview. For example, Dr. Hairston completed the final interview for the director position on Monday. Within 3 business days, I completed the references. So that's why we're able to bring someone to you tonight. After completion of the reference checks, the principal would submit the recommendation to hire, because again, we don't hire, we recommend to you to hire. Also, what is different now is for every situation, we're asking that the principal or whoever the supervisor may be submit the reference check result so that we know that, first of all, that they've been completed and that they were positive. After that, the HR administrator would call and make the offer of the position. In that, you talk about the salary and ask about start date, etc. The candidates who were interviewed but not selected are informed within 3 business days by our department. And then, again, following this through with the principal, he or she would submit all of the panel member interview documents to our office within 2 business days thereafter. By law, we then need to keep those packaged and sealed for 3 years in case there's a challenge to the election. The Human Resources Department then completes what we call onboarding with the new hire. So the persons that you will elect, hopefully tonight, will do onboarding as soon as they are available. Again, that too has been done by Zoom, most often given our current circumstances. I'd be happy to respond to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Jennings. Anyone have questions? Dr. Campbell?
Just one. I appreciate this information. I think it's great. Can you give us who is a part of the panel?
The panel will vary. It's not one standing panel. So just to give you an example, with our most recent panel, the maintenance director, we had a representative, of course, from maintenance. Mrs. Lipscomb led that panel because that arena is in support personnel. We had a representative from the Office of Operations. We had a head custodian on the panel. So it's a variety of people who have what I call a relationship with investment in the position, in the choice, and who takes that position. And one thing about it, and my charge to each panel is, and I am fortunate that I got to do the training of that particular panel, I say to them, you stay and deliberate, and any finalists you send forward to the superintendent is someone you're going to stand behind, individually and collectively. So don't send a name if you're not ready to support that person. Anybody you send could get the job. So the panel will vary. At the school level, as Dr. Harrison said about the committees and so forth and leaders, we want representatives. So if I am at GW and I'm Ms. Lancaster and I need to hire a science teacher, I'm going to involve current science teachers.
Right.
If I am at Westwood and I'm hiring a Spanish teacher, I'm going to have a Spanish teacher on the panel and make sure that person can speak and understand Spanish quite fluently. So that will tell you about the diversity we have. And I appreciate that Dr. Harrison has said we will not have any panel come together where they've not been trained, because we need to keep it legal. We don't want to get sued. And that's, what HR takes care of for you.
One more question. How is the determination? Is it by a score? Do they have, how are they selecting?
Actually, each person has as I said, the deliberation form. There's a rating. So as we're interviewing candidates 1 through 4, we're rating. And I'm rating, Victoria's rating, et cetera. So I'm a tough grader. You've got to really hit the look-fors for me to give you a 4. And someone else might give that same answer of 3. So we do come up with a numeric rating.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Mr. Atkins?
So we heard Dr. Harris earlier say that we're going to be very focused on hiring teachers. Where in this process, is there anything in this process where we could, get gummed up, where that would sort of prevent us from bringing teachers on board as quickly as we might like? Where could you foresee problems happening in the process?
Problems could be that we don't have applicants for a certain area, because some areas are extremely hard to fill. A problem could be that in trying to schedule the interviews within the time frame, someone's not available. A problem could be in checking references. You play phone tag longer than 2 days. Those are the only problems that come to mind right now. But if we have at least 3 applicants, we're going to interview. And to quote Dr. Harrison, I only need one really good one. So if that's the case, I don't see there being problems. The only problem that comes to mind most immediately would be timing and scheduling, with people's availability. And with everyone being so busy now, I might call someone for a reference on Tuesday morning at 9, and they can't get back to me until Wednesday at noon. So I'm anxious about, following the timeline. So those are the only things that come to mind right now, Mr. Evans.
Anyone else? I have one, Dr. Jennings. The first bullet point, saying the posting of the positions. I know before we've had some conversations about being sure all of them are posted. Does that cover that piece of it, like every position will be posted?
Yes, and I say that from our perspective, and we've talked about this as well. There is no law that says you must post every position. The law says that when you do post, you must give equal opportunity. And that's why we go for a 10 business day standard, which is a typical HR standard internationally. However, when you are competing, you want to move quickly. So I do not know at this point of any position we wouldn't post, but there could very well be. We believe in human resources, we certainly believe in advertising so that we might get a good pool. Because just because I know someone who may be good for this doesn't mean they're the best. And we might find someone who's even better. That's one of the things that I teach with regard to interviewer training. I always tell people, keep an open mind. Candidate number 2 who comes in might just blow you away. And you have made up your mind, no one can be better. But as you go through and you get to candidate number 5, everybody's blown away. So we take a look at those sorts of things. So you want a good pool, you want equal opportunity, you want to throw the net out widely enough to get the best. So yes, we plan to advertise. We plan to advertise tomorrow for some that you hopefully elect tonight.
And if I can just expand a little further, one of the reasons I asked that question, that if training from BSBA was saying it can help keep us out of legal trouble if somebody says, well, they didn't advertise that position. So that's, one of the reasons I was asking. And then, is there a process where anyone who applies, do they get a follow-up saying the position has been filled? So like if they didn't get an interview, but they did apply, does that happen?
We do that through our automated system with our online application process. And sometimes that does not happen because if you are applying for a teaching position, that you didn't get the one at school A, you're still being considered for school B. But what we do is make sure that that automated response goes out every time someone submits an application. And in the case, for example, with the director, those persons who did not get an interview got a letter, some electronic and so forth, but with the ones interviewed, they definitely get communication in writing. And often, if they're an internal person, we will call ahead before we even bring them to you because we don't want our employees to hear it through the media when they had interviewed for a job. But we will tighten that up as well.
I want to just chime in just a little bit, Dr. Jennings and Chair Cobbs. So the organizational chart that Dr. McWhirter brought to you before is Coretta Lipscomb is here. We refined that and we'll share that more, but this will be brought back to you as a part of the budget process. And it should be published on the website. And so any position that is vacant, any position that we fill, you should be able to pull up that org chart and see exactly how that's been approved by the budget. We also worked today actually for the past 2 days on putting together a staffing guide. So HR will be working, I think Ms. Whittle will lead the certified, and then Ms. Lipscomb will lead the classified. And the staffing guide is going to be published as well. So you will know exactly how many positions have been approved through the budget for each individual site. That'll be in your budget book. It will be published. It's called an allocations document. So when positions show up on the personnel report, you can cross-check those and be sure they've been advertised and budgeted and approved by you ahead of time. Okay?
Thank you. Anyone else have questions for Dr. Jennings? Thank you, Dr. Jennings. Next, we're at 10.1 committee updates. We will hear from Mrs. Hughes, Governance Committee Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Governance Committee met on December 10th to begin the wonderful work of establishing the evaluation tool that we would use for the superintendent. We decided to follow the uniform standards, of course, that is set forth by the Department of Education. And the primary points for that document is to improve educational performance, both for the superintendent and ultimately for the entire school division, and to improve superintendent and board relations and communications. It set forth the expectations of the board, of the superintendent, so there are no gray areas. We're proud to bring to you the evaluation tool later on to be ratified, to be agreed on by the board as a whole. The biggest thing that we had in that document are performance standards that the superintendent is to be held to. Those include mission, visions, and goals, planning and assessment, instructional leadership, organizational leadership and safety, communication and community relations, professionalism, and division-wide student academic progress. Along with the standard evaluations from that we will be doing based on what the state puts forward, the superintendent also has goals set forth, personal goals that are set forth for her that sort of go above and beyond or to pinpoint particular things that the board has agreed that we would like to see in this upcoming time. We decided on 4 goals. All of those goals are somehow tied to those performance standards, at least 1 or 2 for each one of the goals that we've set forth. So that is also a document that will be acted on tonight. We sent that information out to all board members on Friday evening. I sent a reminder text for everyone to be sure to look at it, whatever it's called, and contact me if you had any questions or whatever, so that everyone would know, be of a sound mind and singular purpose in coming forth with these for the vote later on today. This is the first part of our governance of our process that we're going through. Later on, we'll be talking about our board education as well, but that'll be for another night. This is a document that these need to be done as soon as possible so that we can go ahead and get things rolling or whatever and get some good data and everything collected. So that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Hughes? And just so people can be aware, the governance committee consists of Ms. Hughes, Mr. Atkins, and myself. There are no questions. Thank you, Ms. Hughes. Oh, you did have
I
one
had
card.
something.
McGuire.
I had something. I just thought of it because I asked a question about it earlier. Before I called Ms. Hughes and asked a question, or she called me, and it had to do with when I look at the individual goals. We didn't mention those goals right now, but it was implementation of the corrective action plan, which is basically what we want you to do. Show improvement in the teacher perception survey. And I looked at the teacher perception survey and I thought, I believe the superintendent has more interaction with the principals and administrators at a site than even necessarily teachers. So I would just making a suggestion that maybe the principals and administrators be included in that as well, because this makes it sound like it's just the teachers who will, I guess, be surveyed on their perception, but you would have more interaction with the principals than you would the teachers. So I just figured I'd bring that up as something that we might look at. And it may just be included in that goal.
And I guess we can,
Now, if you don't want to do it, that's fine with me.
no, I'm saying we
I'm
can
just-
talk about it under 17.1 when we
Yeah.
get to that part of it.
Or was I supposed to wait until then?
No, it's fine. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, I think it's an appropriate conversation. All right, thank you, Ms. McWilliams. So 11.1, our public notice, let's see. Public notice, other important dates to remember before I give you the public notice is January 4th. All right, we may need to clarify this because it says students and employees return from winter break. So, you want to do that first?
Yes, let me do
Okay.
that first. So, no good deed goes unpunished. So, trying to allow the teachers on January 4th to come back and at least, especially with face-to-face, prepare their rooms, everything's spaced out, make sure everything is we're ready to receive children on the 5th. And it caused some confusion because some of the SOL preps are on that day. So we did say to them, yes, continue your SOL prep, but students will come back on the 5th and we'll work to get that instructional time made up on the 4th. And teachers do need a day to come back and we'll do what we need to do to get all of this corrected. But that is the notice.
Okay.
Right.
So on Tuesday, January 5th, is Operations, Facilities, and Planning Committee meeting. Thursday, January 7th, for the January 5th, 5:45. Thursday, January 7th, 5:30, that's our regular school board meeting. Tuesday, January 12th, 5:45, Finance Committee meeting. And Thursday, January 21st, 5:30 is another regular school board meeting. So again, these do go out to the public, but it's something that we'll start adding to mention here in our meetings as
Should I
well.
mention that with that casino though? Mention that with the, okay, with the finance committee.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Next, we'll have item 12.1, personnel recommendations, and we will hear from Dr. Jennings again.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. This evening, we bring for your review and hopefully your approval 23 personnel recommendations. As you see at the very top, the case ending in 03 is the one I referenced a little earlier in the presentation. The next section shows you those persons who are intending to retire. And then the others are, per usual, given the headings that are provided there. And at this point, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to respond. Otherwise, I respectfully request your approval.
I had a
Yes.
problem opening that document on my computer.
You had a problem opening
The,
it?
the page is not there on mine for some reason. I don't know why.
Anyone else have a difficulty?
You want to
Oh,
see it?
you have,
Yeah, I don't have that because you can see it here. It just came, this is what came up, and normally you have something where you can open the page and see
Yes.
this, and it's not here.
It's not there?
It's not on mine, yeah.
Oh,
You may be on the public side.
okay.
Oh.
Personnel won't.
I was able to open everything else.
It's confidential. It
Okay,
won't open.
okay.
so you want to, if you want to look.
Okay, well, I can look at this.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions while Mr. McWilliams looks over the list? Just keep in mind, if there's any that you have questions about, we can, if you want to pull anything, just let us know the last case number, last two
fine.
digits.
I'm fine.
Okay, we did, okay. All right, so this is an action item, if there are no questions.
Second.
All right, I don't, was that Mr. Atkins? It's moved by Mr. Atkins.
You
Seconded
can
by,
give it to Mr. Payne for a second.
by Mr. Payne. Any discussion on the motion? All right, please call the roll.
Dr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. McWilliams?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Cobbs?
Yes. All right, thank you, Dr. Jennings.
Thank you all.
Next, item 14.1, we will have our finance report from Mrs. Barksdale.
So this evening, you have before you the finance reports for the month of November 30th, 2020. You have the revenue report indicating the monies that we've received so far, and then you have a report of the expenditures. I did want to bring to your attention on the first page of the expenditures. If you look down under the administration, attendance, and health, one of the board members did call and ask me about the unfavorable variance under insurances, and that is because of unemployment. We've had a lot of unemployment expense, and we don't typically have much, so we didn't budget much. So that's why that's there. And we will recoup some of this when we do our CARES Act funding that ends this month. And also you have the carryover report. Nothing has really changed on that. The amount that we still have available unallocated is $3,098,000. So I will answer any questions if anyone has any.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Barksdale for the November finance report? No questions. This is an action item.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Campbell, seconded by Mr. McWilliams. Any discussion on the motion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Dr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. McWilliams?
Yes.
Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Mr. Atkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Cobbs?
Yes. Thank you. At this time, we will hear from Ms. Barksdale again, 14.2 accounts payable warrants.
Yes, you have before you also warrant 121, and these are our expenses for the month. Our total is 1.7 million, which is a little high, but we had a lot of expenses. Some of them are also, the bigger ones are related to the CARES Act, that money that we had to spend this month. But I'll be happy to answer any specific questions that you have.
Any questions for Ms. Barksdale? All right, it's another action item.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved by Dr. Campbell, seconded by Mr. Graves. Any discussion on the motion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. McWilliams?
Yes.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Mr. Atkins?
Yes.
Dr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Cobbs?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Barksdale.
Thank you all.
At this time, 15.1, we will hear from Ms. Bowman. She'll provide information on a new elective course on African American history, and this is, she's requesting approval.
I'm very excited about the opportunity to request to add this African American History elective course to our courses for the 2021-2022 school year. This information has been shared with the School Board Student Achievement Accountability Committee, which was on November the 10th, and also during the school board work session on November the 19th. This is an initiative by Governor Ralph Northam. The Virginia Department of Education is developing a new African American history course. Of course, the objectives are to provide a foundation of knowledge and understanding of African American history for our students. The course will be taught by our history teachers. It will be taught at both of our high schools as well as at DAP for our students. The curriculum will be provided by the Virginia Department of Education, which will include a curriculum map, supplementary content, as well as all the instructional strategies, activities, and assessments. We have elected this to not purchase a textbook because it will be an online class which will contain all of the instructional content as well as the learning activities and assessments for the course. And then there's also a Q&A, if you want to bring that up, that other document is there? Or you have that in board docs. It's the same document that was shared at the committee and was shared the last time at the work session. That gives you all the information. And Mr. McWilliams, I will say that the resources are now available, so if you want to click on that link, you will be able to access the resources that will be available.
I actually did that earlier
Okay.
today.
So at this time, I would request your approval to add this African American History elective course to our course request list.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Bowman?
Just for clarity's sake, this is an elective, so it's not
They will not
something that
receive-
get credit
No
toward
credit.
graduation or anything?
No, they will receive an elective credit, that they will
Okay.
still have to take, to get that verified credit, they still will have to take the history classes. Yes.
Any other questions?
I'm going to vote yes. I want to just ask, will this be inclusive of also individuals in this immediate area?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. It's a global African American
Sure.
course, yes.
I just wouldn't want us to focus in on so many that have applied for, and we miss.
The curriculum has been set by the state, yes.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Bowman? All right, this is an action item.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
It has been motion, wait a minute. It's a move by Dr. Campbell, I'm sorry. Seconded by Mr. Graves. Any discussion on the motion? And I would just say I'm happy to have it before us tonight. Please call the roll.
Mr. McWilliams?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Atkins?
Yes.
Dr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Mrs. Cobbs?
Yes. All right, thank you, Ms. Bowman. We are at 17.1 to approve the evaluation instrument and goals for the superintendent. And so, Ms. Hughes, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, as I've stated previously under the board communications, this is our proposed evaluation system to use for the superintendent. And the goals I would submit as they have been presented to you, with the addition of the principal, improving principal surveys as well, or some method of encompassing the aspect of the principals or building level administrators, to put it that way. So,
And so I'm guessing, Dr. Harrison, we could add that to
The teacher.
the teacher.
I would think it would
Yeah.
work right there with the
Yeah.
teacher. Just say teacher and then, or staff, or it could just be staff.
And
Well,
the-
that's
the-
too, we need to be careful, we call them principals or staff.
Yeah, well, principals, yeah, because you don't want it necessarily to be everybody, but you
Yeah,
never know.
this motion needs to be pretty clear on that.
Okay, well, I would say principals and teacher.
Okay.
So we're looking at goal 2, because I know Victoria has to make some changes. All right, so goal 2, the way it reads now is show improvement in the teacher perception survey. So how do we want it to read?
Do a principal survey, it might be a good idea to have a separate survey, so that's a little different, focused on leadership support versus the classroom, so you can do a separate.
And that was kind of where I was
Yes.
thinking when I saw this.
yeah, so principal and teacher survey.
Show improvement in the teacher and principal perception survey.
As a part of the strategic plan, by the way, all employees will get a survey. So the strategic plan will reflect every employee, just in case that comes up.
Did anyone have any questions about the evaluation instrument or the goals that are before us for approval? All right, and so when the motion is made, we will need to say, is corrected,
Two separate
Mr. Spencer? But do we need to do two separate
I think I would,
motions?
I mean, if we could say with the addition of a principal survey to goal number 2 would be
Yeah.
sufficient, I think.
And I think it's just one motion needed.
That's
Cool.
fine.
Okay.
I think you just said it, didn't you?
Hmm.
Did you make the motion?
I did, I said if I were to make a motion.
Okay.
Go ahead. You want to make the motion?
I will make a motion. Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the superintendent evaluation instrument as proposed and the goals with the addition of a principal survey to goal number 2.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Mr. Atkins, seconded by Ms. Hughes, to approve the superintendent evaluation instrument and goals for approval with the addition of principal survey. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Atkins?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. McWilliams?
Yes.
Dr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Mrs. Cobbs?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hughes. Next, 18.1, board requests for information for future agenda items. Is there any items you like in the future?
Madam Chair, we could get a chart on how first semester went for all grades, since first semester will be up.
So that is it.
The
Any
second, it'll be
clarification?
the second board meeting, it'll be, I think the second one we'll have.
17th, January 17th.
17.
So we've been,
Well, the semester ends January 19th, I believe. Ms. Bowman, when does the semester end?
The 15th, second semester starts
So
in
we may need to do-
So we may need to do it in February, but we can do that in February.
Okay. Any other request?
And the gifted will be in January.
Oh, yeah, and we will hear about the gifted program in January as well. All right, at this time, we have comments. Any comments from the city attorney, 19.1?
I don't have any comments.
19.2, superintendent?
Yes, as the holiday season is upon us, we find ourselves reflecting on this current year and those who've helped us in charting this course. The holiday season is a time to be with family and friends and to be thankful for the gifts that we have in our lives. This season is, to most of us, will be like one that we've never seen before. We won't be able to see our family members like we have before, and certainly our friends will be at a distance. However, the shape, however it looks, I think we can agree that we are blessed and we should certainly be thankful for all we have. And I encourage everyone to reach out and share with others who are less fortunate. I want to really thank everyone for the warm welcome. I visited classrooms and teachers and spoke to students on Zoom. And I want to thank you for your warm welcome and your graciousness as I become to sit in this seat for the second time. And I hope you take time, everyone, to relax and spend some time just, being able to appreciate the ones who are around you. I look forward to seeing everyone for the new year. Working with you as your superintendent is a pleasure and a joy. And we'll continue to focus on our children and our community. And please accept my well wishes and greetings for the season. Thank you.
Thank you. You would call the roll, please.
Mr. Atkins?
I would just like to wish everyone safe and happy holidays. Thank you.
Dr. Campbell?
I want to thank Dr. Hurston for the 2 books. I've been doing my homework and I've been enjoying it immensely. Thank you for that. I also would like to say Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope you have a wonderful Christmas holiday, and I hope someone is judging the tie for tonight. Don't look at Payne's tie. Yeah.
Christmas lights.
And so, have a wonderful, safe holiday. And let's remember those that have gone on and appreciate life. Thank you so much.
Mr. Payne?
first I'd like to thank everyone for an outstanding year. It's been very challenging for us all with what we're going through. Glad to have Dr. Harrison on board. Also like to say to the board members, thank you for allowing me to be a part of the team, even with being one of the new people on the team. Y'all have helped me out a lot. So I'm looking forward to going into 2021, knowing a little bit more than I knew this year, and being very positive with Ms. Cobbs and Mr. Graves and the whole team. I'd like to also say, keep your family close to you. We had a lot of people that lost family members on this year, and if you have your family, make sure you at least reach out to them through phone or Zoom, or like Ms. Cobb said, play a game with your family on FaceTime or something. But remember, life is short, and every day that we have is a blessing. Thank you.
Mr. McWilliams?
Yeah. First of all, I want to just thank all of you for, again, like Mr. Payne, for welcoming me onto the school board. Mr. Cheney, that grant that you applied for, the amount of money you got compared to what you got last year, I want to commend you for that. Yeah, that's a whole lot of money.
I like to take credit, but it's on a formula, we just got lucky, I think.
Well, thank you for applying for it. I want to say Merry Christmas to everybody and Happy New Year. May you have a blessed holiday season. We're about to get beyond 2020. So many people have some complaints. I would like to say this. It's actually been a blessed 2020 for me. I got a seat on the school board, even though I had to politic through social media. I saw two of my sons get married. One I was actually there, and the other one I saw it on Zoom. And the one who was actually got married that I was there, his was on Zoom too. So if anybody's thinking of holding up your wedding, just have it on Zoom. And I'm welcoming a new baby into the family of one of those two who got married as well. So it's been a blessed 2020 for me, and I would just urge all of you to look at the positive aspects of this very ugly year. That's it.
Ms. Hughes?
I'd just like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays of all kinds, and Happy New Year. I know things are not like we had planned them to be this year, but they could have been a lot worse in a lot of cases and everything. So, as others have said, just be thankful for what we do still have. And I'm looking forward to the coming year, the rest of this school year, and all that the year to come has to hold for us. Thank you.
Mr. Graves?
Yes, I would like to also wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and safe holidays. As everyone has stated, 2020 has been one for the books, but I am grateful. Just trying times, 2020, losing people, loved ones, and watching others struggle has been one of the biggest challenges I faced, and I'm sure others have faced as well. But I'm grateful, one, because I still have life and breath, and I also have a loving family, and I'm also supported and surrounded by people who care, so I value each and every one of you, and I appreciate you. One, I might not tell you enough, but I do, and I appreciate the hard work that you're doing, one, for putting yourself before others, and coming to work each and every day, knowing the circumstances, so we do value you, and it may go unappreciated, but like I say, you're reaching unexpected expectations during a time as such. So I do want to thank, and I think all three of them are here looking good in their red. My HR department, because like I said, unexpected expectations, trying to hire people in a time as such, I'm sure is extremely frustrating for you guys. But let me say, firsthand behind this desk, and I'll tell you in your face that I do appreciate the work that you guys are doing. And I know it can be rough. But I also would like to just thank each and every administrator and support staff and just everybody. Mr. Cheney, job well done on everything that you're doing. I know that you, Mr. McWilliams stated about the grant. I guess that's an early Christmas gift for you. But again, guys, I appreciate each and every one of you, and hopefully 2020 will, the best is still yet to come. Thank you.
Mrs. Cobbs?
Thank you. I'd just like to thank everyone for their hard work up until this point this year. We're at December 17th, and just want to say we made it. It is we made it. And parents are probably more excited about break than the kids are. So everybody is ready for a break. I was talking earlier, and my kid was on his break, and I peeked in the room, and he was asleep. I was like, if you don't get up. So, so it's been a challenge for everybody, but, just as everybody else has said, just take this time to be grateful for your family, spend time with your family, and just rest, get some rest. And I'm talking to myself as well, so happy holidays. And at this time, we will.
Ms. Carter?
Yes.
I forgot to say, who are responsible for the shield?
I love
Oh, yeah, yes, thank you. For
Love
Shield.
It was as a group effort. Wendy Hall and our good Mr. Cheney and myself came up with this, and then the gentleman who put them together.
Jeff Pearson from Maintenance put them together.
Yeah.
I had it in my notes in some kind of way. I looked at Mr. Payne's tie and it just left. Thank you. It's very professional. I feel like city council now.
Thank Wendy Hall. She coordinated everything.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Yeah, this is a nice addition.
Thank
All
you.
right. At this time, we will recess. We can get a motion to recess.
Sure, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to recess for 10 minutes.
Second.
Okay, so we're gonna go into close first.
Before we start.
Mr. Spencer.
We wrote it as closed and then recess. Do we need to change it? Yeah. Okay, so people could,
Okay.
There's a motion on the floor for recess,
Do we need to change
so.
it?
Somebody second
I don't think anybody.
I don't think anybody
seconded
seconded.
it? I mean, you can just die for lack of a second.
No one
Okay.
seconded it, so it dies.
All right. All right. I move that this meeting of the school board of the city of Danville, Virginia, immediately convene and close meeting for the following purposes: discussion, consideration, or interview of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, salaries, discipline of specific public employees or appointees as permitted by subsection A1 of section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia, 1950 as amended, and more specifically, to consider personnel matters, organizational chart, and administrative performance. Discussion of consideration of admission or disciplinary matters of any other matters that would involve the disclosure of information contained in a scholastic record concerning a student of the school system as permitted by subsection A2 of section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia, 1950 as amended, and more specifically to consider a request for religious exemption for compulsory attendance.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for reinstated. Any discussion on the motion? Please call the roll.
Mr. McWilliams?
Yes.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Dr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Atkins?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Mrs. Cobb?
Yes. Thank you.